Welcome to Detroit. Doesn't matter if you have one ass cheek and 3 toes. I will beat your ass. You can drown them. And that's what we gotta be. That's who we have to be. Because that's our domain. That is our domain. Because we'll tread water as long as it takes to fucking bury you.
Takes the snap, turns, gives to Montgomery, right side, end zone, touchdown, Detroit Lions! Yes.
We are driven by Detroit.
Hello, Detroit Lions friends, fans, and family members. Welcome on back to yet another episode of MCM Motor City Mania. I'm your host, David T. Pike, and as always, we're diving on in. So, folks, this is an episode where we're going to talk about, where I think the Lions are at, but we're going to talk about it in a sense that's a little bit different than what necessarily I think some people are talking about right now. Or maybe some people are talking about it, but they're not viewing it with the same level of seriousness, respect, or proclivity, if you will, as what I think some Lions fans are, which includes myself. When you think about this season, I believe this is I think this is a special season. I think that this is a season where the Detroit Lions not only can get to a Super Bowl, but they will win the Super Bowl. I believe this team has the right mindset. I believe this team has the right culture. I believe this team has the right makeup. I believe this team is in a position to do that which us Lions fans have been waiting almost our entire lives, and some of us maybe even, for those that have passed us by and, they're somewhere else, maybe they're looking down on high and they're also waiting. But I take a look at this whole thing, and I know some people, they might have still reservations, they might have some different thoughts, and that's fine, but me speaking here, this is what I think. And I know there's a lot of Lions fans that are probably thinking the same thing, but when I think about this season, it's not just about how us getting to a Super Bowl is what makes it a potentially truly special season. Obviously, that is the cherry on top. That is the crowning achievement of something that all of us are waiting for. That's something that all of us are yearning for. But what I want to talk about in this episode is how I think getting to and winning a Super Bowl is one of a couple of things that I believe can happen and likely will happen throughout the course of this year because of how the team is overall playing. Now, what exactly am I referring to? What I'm referring to is I think that this season for the Detroit Lions is going to be a historic season in more ways than one. I believe it's going to be historic with us getting our first Super Bowl victory. I believe it's going to be historic in also the fact that the Lions are going to alter a lot of conceptions and, notions about players on their team. And I believe that that's going to happen by rewriting the record books and rewriting the history books in certain ways. And I believe that that's going to happen in 3 different ways other than getting to and winning a Super Bowl. So, what are the other 3 ways other than getting to and winning a Super Bowl that I think that this will happen? Well, here's the first way. I believe Jared Goff can and has a really good shot of winning the MVP trophy this year. I really do. Now, I know there's a lot of conversation about, potentially Baker Mayfield, potentially Dak Prescott, potentially, still Josh Allen. That's all fine and dandy, and I know that conversation is going to be had by a literal litany multitude of people as to who should be the MVP. But let's just call a spade, and let's just put it out there for what it is. Yes, the starting quarterback is the most important piece for any team, and especially for an offense. But I'm going to tell you this right now. There is no quarterback, I think, that is more important to the overall success of their offense than that of Jared Goff. Let's understand just outside of the statistical prowess that Jared Goff has put up this year as to what he truly means to this team. You have an offensive coordinator change. An offensive coordinator change that, mind you, after the very first week of the season, everybody wanted to say that the Lions were going to be absolutely dead in the water and could not do anything with because we only scored 13 points against the Packers. Now here we are a month later from that, and everybody has completely forgotten about that, and it's now like an absolutely distant memory. Then, on top of that, you have, with Jared Goff, a complete reshuffling of the interior of the offensive line, and Goff pretty much has completely, not even batted an eyelash. It's like, hey, you know what? It doesn't matter if we don't have Kevin Zeitler anymore up front. It doesn't matter if we don't have Frank Ragnow anymore up front. It does not matter if we have two rookies, in essence, playing at guard. I'm still going to get the job done. I'm still going to play at an elite level. Think about that. Despite two massive things that everybody wanted to focus on coming into the season, Goff has not batted a damn eyelash when it comes to his ability to orchestrate, run, lead, and command the offense. I mean, when you take a look at his stats, it pretty much points everything that I've set out to be entirely 100% true. It's a commanding resume of statistical analysis and compilation of performance. Jared Goff has the number one completion percentage rate in the NFL. He's in the top 10 for passing yards right now. He's ranked 9th. He's tied 5th in passing average. He's ranked 1st in passing touchdowns. He's tied 2nd in pass touchdown percentage per throw. He's tied 8th for the lowest amount of interceptions by a quarterback. He's ranked 12th for the lowest interception percentage rate per throw. He's ranked 2nd in the NFL in passer rating. And he's ranked 7th in the NFL in QBR. Jared Goff is quite literally playing at a level that very few other quarterbacks can say that they're playing at. When you literally have the number one ranking in pass percentage, you have the number one ranking in passing touchdowns, and you have the number 2 ranking in passer rating, you are playing at an elite level. One of 2. And of those 3 that I just mentioned, Goff is number 1 in 2 of them. That is an impressive resume right there. And the Lions have won 4 games in a row after everybody wanted to, like I said, leave them for dead after week 1. But those basic statistics that I just put up are only part of the story. Put this one in your cranium and let it sit for a minute. Jared Goff in 5 games is one of only 2 quarterbacks to have an 80% completion rate or higher in a game. And that's only happened twice. So out of 5 games, Jared Goff has done that in 2 games. And he's only one of 2 quarterbacks in the NFL to have done that. The other quarterback to do that, coincidentally enough, and kind of surprisingly, is Drake May. Furthermore, in also 5 games, Jared Goff is also only one of 2 quarterbacks to have a 75% completion rate or better in 3 games. In fact, he almost had 80% or better in 3 games. Both of those stats I just put out there, they're both tied for first. They're both tied for the best in the NFL. So from that, you have the efficiency, the accuracy, the poise, the command. Then you move on to this stat. Jared Goff so far is also the only quarterback through the first 5 weeks to have a 5 passing touchdown game. Only quarterback so far. Others have 4, but Jared Goff is the only one that's got 5. Jared Goff is also the only quarterback to have 2 150-plus passer rating games through the first 5 games. He's the only one that's got 250-plus passer rating games. And the only other ones that have at least a 150 or higher are Sam Darnold and Drake May, and they've only got 1 each. Like I said, Jared Goff's the only one that's got 2. And here's one that I know a lot of people have seen already because it got pushed out by the Lions PR department on Twitter. They now call it X, but I still refer to it as Twitter. Goff is only the 2nd quarterback in NFL history to complete 75% of his passes with 12 passing touchdowns thrown and a 120-plus passer rating in the first 5 games of an NFL season. The other quarterback? That's 2013 Peyton Manning, who put up the best statistical season that a quarterback has ever put up in NFL history. And think about that. You put all that together with the fact that Jared Goff now has played virtually the exact same amount of games. I think he's now played one more or the exact amount, but he has played the same amount of games that he played with the Los Angeles Rams, and he is playing better than he ever played with the Rams under Sean McVay. Now, some people are going to want to say, well, that's because Jared Goff's gotten more experience, and that's partially true. But for a guy that literally the entire course of his career, he has never gotten the credit for himself as a player. It's always been tied back to whoever the offensive play caller is. The fact that he has moved on from Sean McVay, he's moved on from Ben Johnson, and now he's with John Morton, and every single time he continues to get better, that's not just coaching. That is Goff showing the Rams and the rest of the NFL and McVay that they were wrong about what kind of a player he is. You want to talk about a guy who has quite literally looked at every single doubter and told them, you don't know jack squat about me, and has literally gone out on the field and proven it with his absolutely outstanding elite play every single year, especially the last 3 years? Yeah. Try and tell me how Jared Goff does not deserve the MVP votes that he should get at the end of the season based off of just the first month and week that's gone on in the NFL, the first 5 games. That's just my honest opinion. So that's reason number one as far as why I think the Lions could have an historic season, other than getting to a Super Bowl. Think about that. We win the Super Bowl and we get the MVP award on top of that. That'd be pretty damn, spectacular. But then, let's further expand upon that with another thought process. The Lions' offense could break records this year. And let's think about that. This offense last year also broke records. I think if I recall correctly, the Lions last year with their 564 points, I think was ranked 4th or 5th best all time. Think about that. That's pretty damn impressive. But this year, they've been even more impressive. In the first 5 games of the season, the Lions have scored 174 points. That's best in the league. And what makes this particularly interesting is when you take a look at these other stats on top of that. Last year, in the first 5 games of the season, the Lions only scored 151 points. So that means through the first 5 games of the season this year, the Lions have put up 23 more points than what they did last year. Oh, and on top of that, last year, the Lions' 151 points through the first 5 games of the season was only second best to the Commanders' 100, and I think it was like 54, 55, something like that. They were like right behind the Commanders, but they weren't the best. The Lions are the best right now. And now, at 174 points they've scored over the first 5 weeks of the season, that averages out to almost 35 points a game. Which, if the Lions were to maintain that 35 point per game average for the remainder of the season, so for the remainder of 12 games, that means that the Lions would finish at almost 600 points. I think it would be 594 to be exact. Well, here's the thing. The current NFL record for most points scored in an NFL season by an offense is the 2013 Broncos, which, oh, wait a minute, what did I just say about Jared Goff in that one particular strew of stats? 75 completion percentage rate, 12 passing touchdowns, and 120-plus passer rating. Only the second quarterback in NFL history to do that. That was with 2013 Peyton Manning. Oh, that's right. The Lions could have a chance to potentially break the 2013 Broncos NFL scoring record if they were to maintain their current average of points per game at 35 points, because they would be at 594 exactly, and the Broncos scored 606, which is the current record. It's not that far out of the realm of possibility, folks. And what does that mean? What that means is so long as the Lions offense continues to stay healthy, which for the most part they have, and they keep rolling, they can break records set by Peyton Manning and the Broncos, which, I'm going to be honest, that's a record that I think most people were not thinking was going to be broken anytime soon. It is ridiculously hard to try and even imagine scoring 600 points in a season. The fact that the Broncos did it and they only got 6 points over 600, that still is impressive, especially considering the fact that record was set over a decade ago. And then you factor that on top of the fact that the Lions did this while switching offensive coordinators. They had all of the switch-ups in the interior of the offensive line, and they are doing it with a quarterback that has long been underrated and disrespected in Jared Goff versus a quarterback in Peyton Manning, who is considered one of, if not the best, passer as far as his time is concerned. That would forever change the perspective surrounding the Lions, Jared Goff, and especially John Morton. Because remember, let's understand something here. When John Morton first got hired, all anybody wanted to talk about with John Morton was that disaster that he had with that, the 2017-2018 Jets, where that offense didn't look good at all. Now here he comes in with the Detroit Lions, and he's literally got an offense that could potentially break the NFL scoring record and could potentially have the Lions' first MVP player since Barry Sanders did it back in the 90s. That's quite a completely different set of perceptions than what we saw, 3-4 months ago? So, that's another, historic potential that the Lions could get out of this season other than getting to and winning a Super Bowl. And while we're on this theme with the offense, because so far that's all we've talked about, I want to talk about another thing that the Lions could do that would be historic on offense. The Lions could become one of the few teams in the NFL history books that could have dual 1,000-yard running backs in a season. This is something that I know that I have personally waited on now for going on, 3 years. Going on 3 years. The Lions have been the closest team to try and almost accomplish this rare feat as far as 2 running backs. And I want to make sure I put that out there abundantly clear. 2 running backs. The last time that 2 running backs accomplished a dual 1,000-yard season from their players was back in 2009 when the Panthers did it with running backs Jonathan Stewart and DeAngelo Williams. I know some people are going to be like, well, David, in 2019, the Ravens did it with Lamar Jackson and Mark Ingram. Okay, that's right, but remind me again, Lamar Jackson's not a running back. He's a quarterback. So yeah, while they had 2 dual 1,000-yard rushers, I'm talking about two dual 1,000-yard running backs. The last time that happened was in 2009. And let's understand something here. The Lions quite literally were a whisker away from accomplishing this back in 2023. They were literally 55 yards short of cracking that record. Because Jahmyr Gibbs that year had 945 yards, while David Montgomery, I think he had 1,015. So they were literally that damn close. In the first year that those 2 were together, they were that close. And chances are they could have done it last year too, if not for the fact that Montgomery was out for the last 5 or 6 games of the year. But when you take a look at where the Lions running backs are right now, both Gibbs and Monty have over 300 yards rushing each on the year. So already, they've gotten a third of the way there. Now, while Monty is not as consistent as far as from game to game getting, all the yards and all the, attention that Gibbs gets, Monty still will have games where he just absolutely goes off. Just like the Ravens game we just watched a couple of weeks ago where he put up that 150-yard game. But I'm going to tell you this right now. If Gibbs and Monty are able to maintain the current level of average per game production, which for both of them I think is right around 65 yards a game. I think Gibbs is at 65 and I think Monty's at 62. If both running backs are able to maintain that, which means both running backs are getting over 60 yards a game, which is 120 yards of total rushing offense, which the Lions almost on the regular, that would mean that by the time the season was done, so week 17, no injuries, no giddy up, no whatever, that would mean that both Monty and Gibbs would have over 1,000 yards rushing together. Gibbs, based upon what he currently has and were to continue, he'd be at 1,100 yards, a little bit over. And Monty would have about 1,050. But it would be the first time since 2009 that 2 running backs were to have had that record broken. And if I recall correctly, even if you were to include Lamar Jackson and Mark Ingram's accomplishment in 2019, which again, I don't include it because it's not 2 running backs, but I know a lot of people will because it is 2 dual 1,000-yard rushers. I think it would be only the 7th time, maybe the 8th time in NFL history that this feat has been accomplished. Think about that. The NFL has been around since what, the 1920s, 1930s? I mean, for this to have been, this league's been around for like over 100 years. For something like this to only happen literally less than 2 handfuls worth of time, that is an impressive historic accomplishment. So for me, it's like, okay, you could not only have your first MVP winner since Barry Sanders did it back in the 1990s with Jared Goff, you could have the best statistical scoring offense since the Peyton Manning-led Broncos in 2013 set the record with 606 points. You could do that as well. Then on top of that, you could also have the first dual 1,000-yard running back tandem to have that accomplishment since 2009 when the Panthers did it. And then on top of that, you can go and win a Super Bowl on top of that. I mean, if all 4 of those things were to happen, the dual 1,000-yard rushers, the best statistical scoring offense in NFL history, and Goff wins the Super Bowl, Goff wins the MVP, plus we win the Super Bowl, I mean, dude, you literally would just be like absolutely overfilled with just the sincere amount of pride that this Lions team and city would be able to hold. Because it's like, dude, winning the Super Bowl in and of itself, that would literally have the cup overflowing. But to have all of that on top of that, it's like, dude, the rivers of the NFL would literally have nothing but to talk about the Detroit Lions. If all 4 of those things were to happen, it would just be absolute media feeding frenzy for the Detroit Lions because that would be all anybody would talk about. And I think that those things all have a very serious chance of happening. I really sincerely do. That's why I made this episode. Now, whether or not you think that's going to be the case, that's up to you. But it's like, listen, the statistics back it up. The way the Lions are playing right now backs it up. Their culture backs it up. And just, I think the argument in general that I've presented backs it up. It makes complete sense, and there's a lot of statistical history that, supports it. But you do with the information what you will. Having said that, I'm going to end this episode and say thank you all for watching in another episode of MCM Motor City Mania. If you like what you saw, by all means, I want to highly encourage you all to watch the next episode. But I want to encourage you all to do one of these 3 things as well. Like, comment, and subscribe. If by chance you subscribed in the past and you forgot to do so at the time, or you just subscribed and you've not yet had a chance to do so, please, by all means, make sure you hit that bell notification icon so you guys never miss some more content that I push out. And, of course, obviously, if you like the content, please, by all means, subscribe and do those things that I just also, recommended. If you also want to as well, I hope you also, I hope you just feel good. I hope you have something in your life that makes you happy, makes you smile. That's what I truly try to do with all these episodes. I try to bring you guys good information and good entertainment. And with that being said, I hope you all are having a great day. God bless. And until the next time we meet, I'll see you all in the next episode.